Hello, my name is Maya. Thanks for calling. This AI tool does that. How can I help you today?
Hi, Maya. My name is Stephanie, and I own a wellness business. And I was looking to incorporate AI in my business to help me save time and also increase my sales.
That sounds like a great goal, Stephanie. I can definitely help you explore how AI can benefit your wellness business. To start, what kind of AI service are you looking for?
Well, I really don't know where to start, so I was looking for some form of AI consulting.
Got it. So, you're looking for AI consulting to help you figure out the best way to incorporate AI into your business. That makes perfect sense.
What if your service business answered every single inbound call, qualified every lead, and also booked them straight into your calendar without you having to lift a finger? That's exactly what I'm actually going to be building in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm building this because service businesses miss about 30%, if not more, of inbound leads. And hiring a VA would cost you anywhere between 2 to 4K a month. A voice agent like this would just cost you about $100 a month in API calls. With a VA, they will probably be working set hours that's like 9 to 5. But if you have like a voice agent like this, then it's not gonna sleep and you can just have it running all day long. It doesn't sleep and you'll be fine. So let's get right into it. So this is what we are building, okay? We are gonna be using like four different tools. So the first one is n8n. So n8n is a platform that helps you build automations. I do have a lot of videos on this channel going into details what n8n does, what it can and cannot do, and other use cases with regards to n8n. I also do have a 2-hour course on n8n as well. So I'm going to leave the link to that in the description box so that you can check those ones out. So n8n here is just basically handling the orchestration, the calendar booking, the SMS, and also like emailing. And then the next tool we'll be looking into is also ElevenLabs. So ElevenLabs basically is handling the voice layer. So the voice you heard was picked from ElevenLabs. You can also customize your own voice because ElevenLabs allows you to also like upload your own voice and stuff like that. So you can also use your own personal voice if you don't want to use any of these pre-recorded voices. The third tool I'm using is Claude. So I'm not using the tool itself. I'm just trying to leverage Claude using an API call. So Claude is basically going to be handling the reasoning, the qualification, the logic, and conversation flow. You don't necessarily need to use Claude. If you want to use OpenAI's models, then you can use that as well. You can use Gemini. I just decided to use Claude for this particular tutorial. And then finally, I'm using Twilio. So Twilio basically is the phone number that the user dials. So this again could be your own custom phone number for your business if you don't want to use any of the dedicated phone numbers from Twilio. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let me first talk about like the workflows we have inside n8n. So I do have 3 workflows inside n8n. I was able to generate these workflows using a prompt and I'm going to show you the exact prompt I used. If you want access to the prompt, I'm going to drop the prompt in my membership community. If you're interested in joining my paid membership community as well, I'm going to leave the link in the comment section below. But anyone who is part of my membership community has access to the prompts and everything and all the files as well. Okay, so I have 3 workflows here. So the first workflow is basically responsible for qualifying the lead. So this is exactly the first workflow. And then the second workflow is responsible for booking the lead. Okay, so this is what this workflow does. Again, I'm going to just copy it to the editor so that you get to see the data. And then the final workflow is to just log the call into a spreadsheet. Once the conversation ends, it's sort of logged into a spreadsheet so that the business can actually go back and review it if they want to actually go and review it. So this is the log call workflow. So you can see that there are just 3 simple workflows that's actually doing amazing work. So let me show you the exact prompt I used, right? So this is the exact prompt I used. I'm building an inbound voice agent for a service business using n8n ElevenLabs and Claude. And the login is done via Google Sheets. Now you can, for your own business, you can decide to replace where the login is done. I just decided to use Google Sheets. If you want to store this in like a database, then you can do so as well. I'm just keeping this simple because I know a lot of like solopreneurs, like small business owners work in Google Sheets. I know someone had commented that like no proper business actually works in Google Sheets. Trust me, like a lot of businesses run in Google Sheets. They keep a lot of data in Google Sheets, which is why I decided to choose Google Sheets for this exact workflow so that it's just easier for people to replicate as well. So I gave the use case, I've given the architecture, and I've given like how the qualification should look like. And I talked about like the various webhooks and everything. And I've added like alternative things inside a prompt. So this is the exact prompt I used. So I just basically copied this prompt, pasted it in Claude, and then Claude generated the workflows for me. and then I pasted the workflows inside n8n. So these are the three workflows we have. I'm just going to walk through quickly what the qualified lead workflow does, right? So when the call comes through, just like you saw in the demo, it comes through to this webhook. So this webhook basically has all the data in here based on the conversation, and it's passed on to this edit node, which is basically normalizing the data, just extracting the stuff we need, which is basically everything that was mentioned, like the important things, because we need to know the user's intent, what they need, and whether they actually have a budget. I've set this up in such a way that it would only say like this person is qualified to move on to the next stage if they actually have a budget.
Do you have a rough budget in mind? It's okay if you're still exploring. I just want to point you the right way.
So I'm looking to set aside somewhere upwards of four figures for this kind of engagement.
Okay, so a budget in the four-figure range, that's helpful. The best way for us to follow up is that via email, a call, or both. And what's the best contact?
So I prefer to follow up by email. So my contact is Stephanie at thisai2-that.com.
Just a moment while I check your details. Thanks so much. Based on what you've shared, this sounds like a great fit.
So again, this is logic that you can also configure in yourself based on your own qualification process. A lot of businesses would rather want to work with someone who has budget and has an idea of when they actually want to get started. So that was why I use this as like the minimum qualification criteria. And I'm going to show you the type of questions that went through 11 Labs as well once I get into 11 Labs. So yeah, very simple. Once the response is received, I've mentioned in the system prompt that this is how you're qualifying the user based on the fact that they have a budget and they have a timeline in mind, okay? So that nobody wastes our time. All right, so the next step is basically passing the response back. So once the response, it says qualified as true, the response is passed back to the AI agent, and the AI agent proceeds to the next step, which is to book the intro call. This is where the agents ask a question that like, okay, which day is available for you to have the next, like your first 15 minutes call?
I'd love to book you in for a quick 15-minute call with Stephanie. What day and time work best in the next few days?
So I'm looking at anywhere on let's say 29th of April, 7 a.m. ET to 8 a.m. ET works for me. Right. So when the response comes through, again, like based on the demo you saw, the response was like, oh, I'm available on 29th of April at 7 a.m. ET. So the response came through here. This code node here is basically extracting the response. I have mentioned inside 11 Labs that it needs to basically transform the time to this, right? So when it's being passed from 11 Labs, it transforms the time into the standard. All right. So now you can see that once it extracts that, it goes ahead and then books the call inside the calendar, which is why you see the calendar in here that the call has been booked.
Perfect. You're booked for April 29th at 7 a.m. ET. You'll get a confirmation text in about a minute. Looking forward to speaking with you. You'll receive a confirmation email shortly. Looking forward to our conversation.
Right? So you can see that the call has been booked here. Let's come back inside the book call here. And then once the call is booked, the response is sent back to the agent, and the agent communicates that response back to the customer on the other side of the line. Now, the last step here is logging it into the spreadsheet. And this is basically for the business. Like if you want to like have an audit every month, like go through the list of conversations like this spreadsheet, you can actually like have so many columns, right? Maybe you can have a column for like people who were false, like people you didn't qualify, right? You can have a column for that so that this can feed into your funnel and maybe you can continue like reaching out to them and everything. So this is the bit about n8n. This is the first part of the entire tutorial. Now the next step is I'm going to talk about like 11 Labs and how things work in 11 Labs. So this is basically 11 Labs. If you don't have an account with 11 Labs, I'm going to leave a link inside the description box or somewhere in the comment section so that you can actually see how 11 Labs also works, or so that you can actually sign up. I believe like when you sign up, you get like 10,000 credits, something along those lines. Okay, so in 11 Labs, this is the exact prompt I'm using. Again, I'm going to drop this prompt in my community. So if you want access to the prompts, then you can join my paid membership community. Founding members get it at $39.99 a month, but then you get access to all these prompts and you don't have to start from scratch. Okay, so this is the prompt I'm using. You can see that the name of the assistant is Maya, and I mentioned that is the the assistant for this AI tool does that. These are the 5 questions that are being asked, and you saw that on the demo as well. What kind of service are you looking for? When would you like to get started? All these are qualification questions that I put in here so that it would help Claude to be able to like do the reasoning and qualification. And I've included some other things to do. Like, let's say if the customer said something along the lines of, oh, I don't have, let's say, a budget or anything in mind, then for me, I'll just say, like, I've told Claude to say that if they say they don't have a budget, then just don't qualify them, just redirect them to like my free resources, right? So it will do that as well for you. Now, 2 things to note about the assistant inside ElevenLabs. So I have 2 tools, the qualified lead tool and the book calendar tool, right? So these tools are basically used to collect answers. So these are the answers that are passed to n8n. Like you saw inside the webhook node, you can see that I'm including the webhook node here for like the qualified lead. So all the responses here are being synthesized using an LLM prompt. So for instance, I have service requested. So it's going to basically like listen to the transcript and extract the service requested from there. So that is what this exact tool does. And there are some other variables in here that I have as well. Again, all these setups, I'm going to drop them in the community. So if you are part of my community, you get access to it for free. Now, the next tool is the book calendar tool as well. So again, it's just extracting anything that has to do with like booking the call, the dates and everything. So if I scroll down, you can see that I have the dates, the phone, the preferred time and everything. And this is what I was saying earlier on inside n8n. I'm saying that I want to pull the full ISO 8601 timestamp and time zone as well, right? So that is the language n8n understands. So I'm pulling this and I'm transferring it into n8n as well. So I have some dynamic variables in here. So I have this here, like this is a confirmed time. So when the user responds, it comes in here. And these ones are like, they will change depending on what the user responds to as well. Okay, so this is the part about ElevenLabs. Now let me talk about the part about Twilio. Okay, again, in order for you to be able to build out this part, you need to have like a Twilio account, and it's very simple to set up a Twilio account. I believe once you set up a Twilio account, you get access to some credits as well. You can also get like a free number if you are in the US. Because I'm based in Canada, I had to buy a number. So I'm gonna come in here and show you how I got a number, right? So if you come into phone numbers here, so if you don't have like, you don't live in the United States, you can either decide to like buy a number. If you live in the United States, then that's easy. You don't need to buy a number, you get like a free number here. So yeah, so you can buy a number, and once you buy a number inside n8n, you basically have to use the account SID and the authentication tokens. So if you go into n8n, you basically have to configure your account SID inside the Twilio node. So you can do that by setting up like a credential for Twilio under the credentials tab here. You can just come in here, you put in the account SID, the authentication token, and you're good to go. Anytime you call the Twilio node, it's going to work fine for you. And one thing you also do with the Twilio number is, for instance, if I come into ElevenLabs, for instance, if you come into phone numbers, you would have to import the phone number. But if you already do have like your SID and the authentication number, then it's a lot more easier, right? So you click on import number and you can just import from Twilio, and that's how the connection happens. And then you assign the number to your agent, and that's basically it. I have several videos like going specifically into details on how I set up Twilio and all that. I'm gonna link that in this video as well, because if you watch those videos, you would see exactly how the connections are done as well. And you can also join my paid membership community. I'm going to leave the link to my paid membership community in the comment section below. But if you want to join my paid membership community, basically it's at disney.ai. Click on join community, and then you can just claim your founding member spots. That's it, as simple as that. Also, if you want to get the exact steps as well, you can also come into additional.ai and just try to build it here as well. Like all the tutorials, all the steps, you come into additional.ai, you see like I may probably already even have like some tutorials on here already. So you click on sign in, for instance, and you see that there might be some tutorials regarding voice agents in n8n. So you can basically use the free version. You get access to 3 free tutorials or 3 free projects, and you get all the steps you need as well. So yeah, so you can either join my community or you can use additional.ai to get the exact steps you need as well. But yeah, that is it for today's tutorial. Thank you for watching. And like I said, I'm going to link the other voice agent videos I have in this video so that you can go check it out. See you in the next video.
And when would you like to get started or have this completed?
So I'm looking to get it started sometime in May, so early May, and then also have it completed by the end of May.
Okay, so you're looking to start in early May and have it completed by the end of May. Have you worked with an AI consultant before, or would this be your first time?
This will be my first time.
Understood. This will be your first time working with an AI consultant. Do you have a rough budget in mind? It's okay if you're still exploring. I just want to point you the right way.
So I'm looking to set aside somewhere upwards of four figures for this kind of engagement.
Okay, so a budget in the four-figure range, that's helpful. The best way for us to follow up is that via email, a call, or both. And what's the best contact?
So I prefer to follow up by email. So my contact is Stephanie at thisai2-that.com.
Just a moment while I check your details. Thanks so much. Based on what you've shared, this sounds like a great fit. I'd love to book you in for a quick 15-minute call with Stephanie. What day and time work best in the next few days?
So I'm looking at anywhere on, let's say, 29th of April, 7 a.m. ET to 8 a.m. ET works for me.
Perfect. You're booked for Monday, April 29th at 7 a.m. ET. You'll get a confirmation text in about a minute. Looking forward to speaking with you. You're all set for Monday, April 29th at 7 a.m. ET. You'll receive a confirmation email shortly. Looking forward to our conversation.
Okay, thank you.